Okay, hi. Let's get started with section 6.3. So, continuing in this last chapter, we're going to start talking about exponential functions today. Before we do that, I want to remind you of the exponent rules that you're expected to already know coming into this class. So, I've kind of gone over all of the main ones here with an example. You can pause it and take a look at these. I'll be happy to speak about a couple of them. The first one I want to talk about is that negative exponent. What a negative exponent does is it kind of changes the position that that number is in the fraction that it's in. Remember that any number, say 2, if I give you the number 2, well, we automatically know that it is over 1, that there's actually 1, 2, and it's to the first power. Everything in blue is the stuff that we assume. So if I say 2 to the negative 4 power, that's going to be that 2 is going to change position in its fraction. That negative exponent says move it to the other place. So this becomes 1 over 2 to the 4th power. Now, that's also true if the negative exponent's on the bottom, and we're not going to get crazy like that, but I need to remind you of that because you have learned that before. So if I had something like 3 over x y to the negative 3 power, then if we wanted to clean that up, remember that that power only affects that y for 1. It doesn't affect both. And so we would say 3, it would stay where it is. The x would stay where it is, but that y to the negative 3 would move up here to be y to the third. So that would be 3y cubed over x. Now let me show you what it would look like if that negative 3 affected both of them. So I'll do another example. If we did it like this, then the 3 is going to stay where it is in the fraction, and the xy is going to go up. And then due to these other rules, then this would be 3x cubed y cubed. Okay? So just remember that. And also anything raised to the 0 power, it doesn't matter what it is equal to 1. And of course, 1 raised to any power is also equal to 1. All right, just wanted to remind you of these laws of exponents. And let me go ahead and give us our silly phrase for today, because I feel like I'm going to get started and forget about telling you about this. So the silly phrase is my eyebrows unionized overnight. So my eyebrows unionized overnight. Okay, awesome. Got that done. Okay. So let's start with the definition of an exponential function. An exponential function, f of x is equal to c times a to the power of x, where a is an element of the positive real numbers. So that is the positive real numbers. A is greater than 0. That is positive real number. And a is not equal to 1. And in addition to that, C is an element of the real numbers. It doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. It can be negative, but it cannot be equal to 0. The domain of an exponential function is negative infinity to positive infinity. Okay, and the base, the letter A here is the base. It's also called the growth factor, and the C, excuse me, is also called the initial value. All right, so let's just investigate a little bit on how exponential functions work. So let's take a look at this example here, and it says, suppose a function f has the following properties. F doubles with every 1 unit increase in the x, and f of 0 is equal to 5. Okay, so let's do a little t-chart here. And we already know one of these, right? We know when x is 0, f of x is 5. Now let's go back here and investigate what this says. This says f doubles with every 1 unit increase. So to increase this by 1 unit, next one would be 1, and then it would be 2, and so forth, right? So we'll just write a few there. And then it also says the f side doubles with every increase. So right now it's 5. So when we double it, it's going to be 10. And when we double that, it's going to be 20. And when we double that, it's going to be 40. And when we double that, it's going to be 80. Now, we want to kind of figure out a formula here, okay? And so we can say a few things here. We can say when it's f of 0 is equal to 1 times 5, right? Because it was equal to 5, okay? F of 1 is equal to 2 times 5. Agreed? Because this is equal to 5 and this is equal to 10. F of 2 is actually equal to 2 times 2 times 5. So 4 times 5, which is 20. F of 3 is 2 times that 4. So that is 8 times 5, which is 40. And f of 4 is 16 times 5, which is 80. Okay. Now, you might not see the pattern yet, but I promise you by writing it out like this, it is helpful to see the pattern. So we can rewrite 4 as 2 squared times 5. We can rewrite 8 as 2 cubed times the 5. And the 16 as 2 to the 4th times the 5. So this one is going to be 2 to the 1st power times 5. And then remember, I reminded you a moment ago with those exponent rules that anything to the 0 power, sorry, that's times 5, is equal to 1. So that is 1 times 5. So we can get a formula here. We can say, well then, oh, well, f of x is equal to 5 times 2 to the x power. And this is an exponential function. Now, the other thing that is important to notice about an exponential function is that the exponent always carries the variable. So the exponent always carries the variable. And that's how we know it's an exponential function, kind of like the way we know a function is rational is when the variable is there's a variable in the denominator, right? Doesn't matter if there's one in the numerator or not. If there's any variable in the denominator, it is a rational function that we need to deal with in a certain way. Okay, so let's get going here. Now, a way to tell if a function is exponential is to check the quotient of the consecutive outputs. The common ratio is discovered the common ratio that is discovered is the base of the exponential, the a part, in this function, f of x is equal to c times a to the a x, and we call this the base. All right, so let me write a couple of these up. I didn't have a clean way for me to type them in, so I just decided I would write them. So give me just a minute. I'm going to write all of them real quick. Okay, so the question asks us to determine if the following outputs are linear, exponential, or neither. Okay, now let's remind ourselves for them to be linear, what was the trick to find if something was linear? That we had the same average rate of change. So same average rate of change. Now, there's a quick way to kind of check that, and that's looking at that called the second sums. I talked to you about that when we did this average rate of change, when we did the linear functions a while ago. Okay. Now for exponential functions have a common ratio. And what that means is we need to check f of 2 divided by f of 1. That needs to be the same thing as f of 3 divided by f of 2, and so forth. Okay, so you have the same value when you do those divisions. Okay, and then how about if it's neither? It's neither when neither one of these fall in. Okay, so if we don't have the exact same average rate of change or the second sums, or if we don't have this common ratio. So let's take a look here. So the first thing we want to do is check the second sums. Okay, and that's basically looking here and seeing what delta x is, and the change from one to the other is 1. So as long as it's consistent, we need to know that. The fact that it's 1 is awesome. And then we need to look at the second sums. To get from 5 to 2, we had to subtract 3. To get from 2 to -1, we also had to subtract 3. To get from 1 to -4, we had to subtract 3. 4 to -7 again, subtracting 3. Now, no relation, function, or equation is going to be both linear and exponential. That is not possible. So once you see that that second sum is the same, we know that the slope is the same between these points, and we can declare this guy linear from the start. Okay, now let's take a look at the next one. If we take a look here, we still have our delta x is equal to 1. There's only one. We add 1 to get to the next one, right? Each one we just add 1. So now let's take a look here at the second sums. -32 to 16. What did we have to add there? Shoot, I'm going to have to even do the homework. Do the calculator work here. We had to add, -32. Oh, wait, sorry. 16 minus -32. We had to add 48 to get to that one. 16 to 8. We had to subtract 8. 8 to 4, we had to subtract 4. Okay, so those are not the same. We already see that. So we know because of that, we know it's not linear. Okay, because those are not the same. This tells us that this is linear because it's the same. Okay, so since it's not the same, let's start checking the quotients there. So we're going to say 16 divided by negative 32. That's equal to negative 1/2. And then we're going to try the next one. 8 divided by 16. It's equal to 1/2. I think I might have messed up. That should have been a positive 32 right there. Sorry. Okay, that's still not going to make a difference here because that's adding or subtracting 16. Okay. All right, sorry. I just noticed that there. And so that should be positive. So we'll fix all that. And then you can even check here for divided by 8 is equal to 1/2. So we can state very clearly that the common ratio is equal to 1/2, and therefore this is exponential. And then again, we can look at this guy, that the delta x is equal to 1 again. And then here, when we look at those sums, this is +2, this is +3, this is +4, this is +5. So we know that that is not linear. And then we'll check 4 divided by 2, that's equal to 2. And then 7 divided by 4 is equal to 1 3/4. Right there, we can say not exponential. So this is neither. Okay. All right, hold on a second. I need to get something to drink. I didn't bring anything in here. Hold on just a minute.